If you get this right, then you are completely off to the races and your skills will improve and you will become a better photographer. So in this video, I'm going to take my last 3 years of buying and using various lenses and I'm going to share with you what I would choose if I was buying my first lens today. My aim is to maximize the speed of learning to frame the subject and compose the scene, and some lenses are better for this than others. I will also share my opinion on what lenses to choose when you are ready to progress or feel the need for a change. And all of this will apply regardless if you use Canon, Sony, Fujifilm or any other brand. It all starts with the so-called kit lenses. These are the lenses you will find packed in a box with the new camera you just bought. It's usually a standard zoom with variable aperture. Kit lenses serve mainly the purpose of making you feel like you've got a better deal than if you bought just the camera body. Another argument for getting a camera body with a kit lens is that you will have a lens to use with the new camera right off the bat. But mostly this is nothing else than an expensive way of avoiding FOMO. With some careful planning and smart choices, you can buy a lens separately from the camera body, a lens with optical quality that will blow your mind and which may even cost less than the kit lens. And here comes the trouble. Most of us spend a disproportionate amount of time researching camera bodies, but we pay no real attention to lenses. We know all about the latest autofocus, image stabilization and high ISO sensor technology our new camera offers, but we often forget that it's the lens that is making the image stand out. So let's be smart about it. Marry lenses and date cameras. You can always change a camera body as technology develops, but a good lens you can keep for life. But how to choose the right one? It's easy to make a mistake and go for something that is too expensive or that you are not ready for. I've learned this the hard way. I spent a lot of money buying the wrong lenses at the wrong time, often influenced by photographers I admired and tried to mimic the images they are making. My worst mistake was to think that this or that expensive lens will make me to take great photographs. I was also emotional in my lens purchases, only to find them sitting virtually unused in my drawer a few months later, and eventually losing money when selling them out on a used market. I still own rather expensive lenses, but these are the ones I know and use the most. One of them is the APS-C Leica Summicron 23mm f2. It's equivalent of 35mm on full frame, and this is, in my opinion, the most important lens of all. You cannot beat a good 35mm lens. It's the one that should not be missing from any lens collection. I call it the everything photography lens because its perspective is just a bit wider than what we see with our own eyes. That makes it comfortable to use, and the slightly wider perspective gives a little bit of wiggle room, so useful for cropping. Distortion and compression of a subject are pretty much non-existent, and so we can get close enough for a nice portrait or climb to a viewpoint and capture sweeping landscape. This slightly wide or relatively normal focal length is useful for capturing groups of people, environmental portraits and even entire scenes. It's a lens you put on your camera when going out with a group of friends or your family. It's a reportage lens, it's a storytelling lens, it's a great travel lens too. It's a lens that will force you to consider your subject's surroundings, but at the same time is not too wide to make composition too difficult. And if all else fails, background blur is still reasonably possible. 35mm lens is where I would start. This mounted on any camera would be enough for the first year or at least a couple of months. It's no wonder Fujifilm have been successfully selling their X100 series of cameras for more than a decade. They are small, light, good looking and they come with a fixed 35mm lens. When choosing a 35mm lens, I would go for a maximum aperture of f2 on crop and f2.8 on full frame camera. This will keep the lens compact, light and affordable. Faster lenses can make nicer images, mostly by blurring background, but that's not really what a 35mm lens is for. And mainly, the lens size and weight will grow disproportionately with every increase of maximum aperture. If you choose well and give yourself enough time to get used to this focal length, it will easily become the one lens you will use the most. Second on the list and a tight contender for first place is a 50mm lens. I used to be a die-hard addict to the 50mm perspective. I thought there is nothing better than a good 50mm lens and thought I can do everything with it. until I became a father and found out that my Nifty 50 is too tight for almost everything involving more than one person, especially indoors. It was difficult for me to take storytelling photos of my son with the amazing crop sensor Samylux 35. The reason is that a 50mm lens is basically a small telephoto. It compresses subjects slightly and easily separates them from the background, so images taken with a wide open 50mm lens look beautiful but are borderline unusable in capturing real life happening around you, especially during family outings. Now I think there is nothing universal about a 50mm lens. Its perspective will not give you a choice in choosing more than one subject unless everyone is further away from you. The images you will take will be nice and definitely different from a smartphone, but for every day there are better solutions, like the previously mentioned 35mm. The 50 surpasses it in how easy it is to take nice looking photographs, so it almost calls to be a #1 pick, but if you will only have one lens for your camera, it should be 35mm. And the choice number 3 has to be a standard zoom lens. This could be the previously mentioned kit lens, so if you've got one with your new camera, don't throw it away. It may not be the best pick, but still has a place in a good lens collection. A standard zoom lens will usually cover a range between 28 and 70mm. Some will start at a wider focal length of 24 or reach all the way to 120 and beyond. Wider coverage and much longer reach are nice to have, but much more important is to have the standard zoom with fixed aperture across the zoom range. If it's also compact and light, you suddenly have a good alternative to your standard prime lenses, because a zoom lens is merely a collection of primes. You can set your zoom to 50mm mark and leave it there for the next portrait session. Perspective of your images will be the same as if you used a prime lens. Getting a compact zoom lens with fixed aperture used to be a problem, but with offerings like the crop sensor Sigma 18-50 f2.8 or full frame Sigma 28-70 f2.8, the solution is here. The basic zoom range and fixed aperture allow for great flexibility in everyday shooting scenarios, including low light. I've recently taken the Leica 18-56 f3.5-5.6 zoom on holiday, and while the lens excelled outdoors, I had to crank up ISO when moving indoors quite a bit, and it shows in the pictures. Next time I'm going away on family holiday, the Sigma 18-50 will be my lens of choice. But holidays and family outings are where I would draw the line. For everything else, a prime lens is a better solution, because zoom will not teach you anything except how to become a lazy photographer. It's often a case that with a zoom lens you end up zooming in and out, trying to see which perspective is best for your subject and miss the opportunity for a good shot. Variable focal length could mean that your composition is all over the place and your images are not much better looking than what comes out of your friend's smartphone. And maybe even worse, which can be demotivating. We spend a lot of money on dedicated cameras exactly for the reason of not having our photos looking like the typical computational smartphone flatness. The solution to this problem is to limit the use of zoom and equip your camera with something else that will help you achieve this goal. By now you already have 35 and 50mm prime lenses and a standard zoom in your arsenal, so the choice is yours. And if you are smart, you will stop here. You will stop spending money on photography gear and start saving for retirement, because what you have will take you places. But if you really feel like something's missing, then it's time for the big guns. I would discourage you from buying a telephoto zoom lens early in your photographic journey. The reason is they are too easy to work with, even easier than a standard zoom. A telephoto lens will not teach you to walk at all. You will not have to image the frame in your head, compose and take a photo. You will be able to sit on a chair with eye glued to your camera viewfinder and fish for interesting scenes to take pictures of. You will get bored soon and your photos will be boring as well. Virtually anyone can compress landscapes or obliterate subject background with a telephoto lens, but the same scene requires different levels of thinking with a 35 or 50mm lens. But if you want to have fun and have a use case for it, get the best telephoto zoom you can. It makes sense to go high-end here because you will most probably buy only one and use it sparingly, so it will last forever. And quality lenses return value better should you decide to sell it. And by now you are probably thinking that I'm an idiot who forgot to mention a 28mm prime lens. I didn't. I just don't think they are the best to start with and even necessary to own. For one, we all have a 28mm lens permanently attached to our smartphone, so everybody knows it well. For most people, the whole purpose of taking photos with a dedicated camera is to have different looking pictures. On top of it, 28mm lenses are not easy to take good photos with, especially of people. They distort faces that are too close to the lens, and the perspective is so wide that there is almost always too much going on in the frame. This all makes it difficult to compose, and so the learning curve is steep. If you want to try it, use the wide end of your standard zoom lens, and if you know you love it, get one. There are plenty of them around, and you can get them as part of some great point and shoot cameras like the Leica Q or Ricoh GR. But be careful, there is a reason why you see so many of these 28mm fixed lens cameras on the used market all the time. This focal length is tricky, to say the least, and anything wider than 28mm makes all these aspects worse. So don't waste your time and money unless landscape photography is what you want to focus on. But that is a whole other story, better to be left for another video. Finally, unless you are seriously into the hidden world of insects, don't waste your time and money on a macro lens. It's amazing to see the creatures living in your garden blown up on a 4K screen, but macro photography is a completely different sport that needs a completely different skill set and even more gear for seriously good results. You can get a taste for it by using one of the affordable manual focus lenses, but it's better to be left alone. Rather than overthinking your lens selection, you should make sure you have your camera set up for success. So click on this video next for the 5 camera settings that will save you a lot of headaches.